Good morning. I hope you guys are having a Super Galactic Saturday, and thanks for joining me today. I know you guys are expecting two Jerrys, but you're only getting one today. Uh, Unfortunately, my dad is out of town, so I'm alone again, naturally. But it's a brand new day, and as my father would say, any day above ground is a good day. So we're going to treat it like that. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, and if you like our content, make sure to subscribe to the Super Galactic Fantastic Dimension YouTube channel and follow us on our Super Galactic Fantastic email list. And if you sign up today, you get a free 12-page digital comic. So we love your feedback on our book. But before we get into the fun stuff, I do want to cover something a little serious, only because I think it's really important and I think everybody should know about it, especially if you had kids. So I want to get some of the serious stuff out of the way real fast. First things first, I'm sure everybody has heard of the game Roblox. I used to play Roblox a long time ago. How old is Roblox? I used to play Roblox. I know kids who play Roblox. You know, it's an addicting game somehow. It might be bigger than Minecraft, but unfortunately, because it's so huge, it's really and so popular. It's a breeding ground for, unfortunately, child predators. And I don't know what's happening at Roblox. I don't know why they're not really vetting their subscribers, but unfortunately, there are some really bad people who use Roblox to prey on children. It's unfortunate that this is the world we live in, and thankfully, there are people out there who are fighting against this, like the popular YouTuber Schlep. You may not have heard of Schlep. He has a channel dedicated to busting these child predators online on Roblox. And he's been doing a pretty good job. Unfortunately, though, Roblox is currently suing him for fighting against child predators, which is a crazy thing to think about. But considering that the CEO wants to turn Roblox into some sort of dating website, unfortunately, this does not surprise me. So I just want to help make people aware of this, because I used to be a teacher. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I know kids who play this game, and I know a lot of parents aren't very internet savvy. So I'm telling you right now, if you have kids or you know anybody who has kids, I would highly recommend you either make sure to regulate their time on, you know, Roblox, or just better yet, stop them from playing Roblox. At this point in time, I really don't think it's a very safe platform to be on. So I just wanted to make people aware of that so that they know to keep their kids off of Roblox, and give my support to the YouTuber Schlep. I think he's doing good work, and I hope he's able to fight against this. And I think this is another important lesson. I think this is a very important lesson in, hey, let's not let the internet raise our kids. You know, let me know what you guys think about the controversy in the comments below. But now that that's out of the way, that's the really serious stuff. Now we could get into some cooler stuff, like the comic of the week. We haven't really done this in a while, but I want to use this as an opportunity to highlight one of my favorite new comic book series that is out right now, which is DC X Sonic the Hedgehog. Pretty sure I thought they used to call it Sonic X Justice League, but doesn't matter. It's cool. Go read the Sonic Justice League crossover. It is amazing. It's a lot of fun. It was a fun read. It's 5 issues in total. And I think that the art is great and the story is great. Obviously, it's not going to be deep. It's a Sonic Justice League crossover, but that's perfectly fine in my book. I think they did a good job with representing all the characters. We got to see Sonic pretend to be the Justice League for a day. We got to see Knuckles punk Lex Luthor. We got to see Shadow be a more intense Batman, and we got to see Silver be a Green Lantern, which is feels very appropriate. And we got to see Tails be a cyborg again. It's weird that it's happened twice. Um, it was an awesome, awesome book. And if that doesn't convince you, Super Sonic versus Darkseid. If that doesn't get you hyped, I don't know what will. Go read DC X Sonic the Hedgehog. Go get the 5 issues. You will not regret it. Shout out to Ian Flynn. He pulled another stroke of genius. So yeah, that's my comic book of the week. Now, there's not a whole lot of trailers today. There's only one in particular that really caught my interest, and it was kind of a surprise, mainly because this particular it's a game. This particular game is notoriously bad, but somehow, just in time for my birthday, Atari decided to do what I thought was impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think you're prepared for this blast of the past. I present to you the Bubsy the Popcat collection. God help us.
Bubsy is back!
We did have a joke about the time that everybody in Hollywood was looking for a character with an edge and with an attitude.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, your eyes do not deceive you. We are getting a Bubsy the Bobcat collection. Who asked for this? I have no idea. But I mean, it's nuts. So for those of you who don't remember Bubsy the Bobcat, and for good reason, Bubsy the Bobcat was a sort of a blip in video game history. Back in the 90s, when Sonic the Hedgehog came out, everybody and their mother was trying to create their own animal mascot with attitude to compete with Sonic. And probably the most infamous of these was Bubsy the Bobcat. Now, I've played the first Bubsy game, and I think the 3D one, you don't play either. I've heard the second one is decent, but I'm not willing to try it out. Well, I wasn't willing to try it out until now because the fact that we're getting not only we're getting a remaster of possibly the worst 3D platform game of all time, and we're getting a collection is insane. And this isn't any collection. This let's see what's included in this. So they had we saw yeah. So it's got every single version of every single game. So you've got the Super Nintendo Bubsy, the Sega Genesis version for both 1 and 2, and the Game Boy version, and the Atari game, and the 3D crappy one. And there's a manga. I didn't even know there was a manga. This is insane. And it's got interviews and magazines. This is an awesome. Listen, this is awesome. Like what pisses me off is that somehow the greatest. Yes, this is a true definitive edition collection. But it's for Bubsy the Bobcat. That's like making a definitive collection for I don't know. Uh God, that's like if they put The Room, they remastered The Room, if you remember The Room with Tommy Wiseau. It doesn't make any sense. Or Trolls 2. It is wacky. It's wacky and it's terrible. It's like I said, they were trying to create they basically made a bootleg Sonic, and they succeeded. It is definitely a bootleg Sonic, right? This is the Timu Sonic, the We Have Sonic at Home Sonic. He runs super fast and he shouts catchphrases, and that was kind of the standard for the '90s. Trust me, there were a lot worse mascots than Bubsy. Um, don't make me talk. Don't get me started on Arrow the Acrobat, or the Kamikaze Squirrel, or Awesome Possum, which is like a bootleg of Bubsy. It's nuts. The rabbit hole goes deep. Oh, speaking of rabbits, Jazz Jackrabbit. Jazz Jackrabbit was probably the best of the Sonic ripoffs. But I digress. But yeah, Bubsy the Bobcat is a game series that lives in infamy, and it's sort of, I guess you could say, it's got a cult following just because of how wacky and absurd it is. But it's so crazy because this is like peak game preservation right here, right? It's got all the different versions of every single game. Uh, the only thing that looks like it's missing is like the recent Steam game. But yeah, it's got concept art. It's got clips from the cartoon pilot because there was going to be a cartoon series. It's got comic books. This is like, if you remember the Sonic Mega Collection, this is like that. Like, this is amazing. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why didn't we get this from Mario? You want to know what we got for Mario? We got 3 ROMs tossed on an emulator, and they charged $50 for it. That's what we got. We got Super Mario 3D All Stars, and all they did was toss 3 ROMs on an emulator and called it a day. Like, it was bare bones. You know, it's crazy, and it's kind of makes me sad that Bubsy the Bobcat got a better remaster uh, than Super Mario 64, which is nuts, right? It's like, it shouldn't be. Like, yeah, this comic says it best. How does Bubsy, of all characters, get a better collection compared to Sonic and Mario? The console wars may be over, but at the end, Bubsy certainly had the last laugh. Let me know if you guys are interested in this. Let me know in the comments below. Did you play Bubsy the Bobcat? If so, which game did you play? Did you play the Sega Genesis one, the Super Nintendo one? Were you unfortunate enough to have the 3D one on the PlayStation? Let us know in the comments below. But yeah, this is nuts, man. This is impressive, but still nuts. Speaking of platforming mascots, I also wanted to give a shout out, because we didn't get a chance to last week, to Rareware. So if everybody remembers Rare, they're the guys behind Banjo-Kazooie, Battletoads, Conker's Bat for a Day, Viva Pinata, if anybody remembers that weird game and show, and a whole bunch of other games. I haven't played every Rare game. Admittedly, I was mainly a Banjo kid, But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out. Apparently, they turned 40 years old. The company. Oh, and I can't forget about the Donkey Kong Country games. They Rare really defined the modern brand of Donkey Kong, and they pretty much kept Donkey Kong from obscurity. So shout out to Rare for that because they're MVPs. But yeah, let me know what your favorite Rare game was. Mine personally is gonna be Banjo Kazooie. I'm currently in the middle of playing Banjo Tooie. So far, it's fun. I have not beaten it yet. It's a lot longer than the first Banjo, but I am having fun. And that's right, Afrocentric. Not even it did. They did the 3D collection for Mario didn't even include Galaxy 2. Like they easily could have included all the 3D Mario's up until Odyssey, right? So that's 64, that's Sunshine, Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2, 3D Land. Imagine being able to play 3D Land on a home console and 3D World. That would have been awesome. But, Nintendo, they have enough money, so they think they could just do the bare minimum. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality. But yeah, shout out to Rareware. Hopefully, we could see the same treatment with Banjo Kazooie. It'd be nice to be able to play all the Banjo games in one collection. And yes, even nuts and bolts. I played a little bit of it. It was okay. It's definitely no Banjo 3, but you win some, you would lose some. But yeah, let me know what your favorite Rare game was in the comments below. I know a lot of people really liked Perfect Dark, which was a first person shooter, and GoldenEye. GoldenEye was actually my first person shooter for the Nintendo 64. So yeah, shout out to Rareware. Man, I really hope we get that new Banjo game. I was playing Smash Brothers the other day, and I forgot how fun Banjo was. So hopefully, Banjo being in Smash Brothers reignites some passion into Rare or somebody, anybody. Just I need a new Banjo game. Speaking of games, um, this is sort of a weird segue because if you thought Jack Black in Minecraft was weird, what about Ice Cube? Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a real thing. Um, God help us all again.
Just like the jingle said, I'm Ice Cube, and this is my Ice Cubicle, and I'm here to ensure your cubes. So if you left the gas after
Did you get the joke? Did you get the joke?
dismounting your happy gas, or you just straight up die, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Please hang up. Try your call again.
It hurts. But you can be entitled to a lump sum settlement. So send me, Ice Cube, a video of your Minecraft mishap and file a cube claim today. Today.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was Ice Cube and his Ice Cubicle. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I actually understand this reference, which is a little weird. So recently, there was a movie that came out that was essentially a remake of the War of the Worlds. For those who don't know, War of the Worlds was a movie that came out in when did it come out? Well, it was a novel, I should say, back in 1898 about an alien invasion, and then the novel was turned into a movie. Well, it wasn't necessarily a movie. It was I want to say it was a radio drama because I remember specifically it was narrated by Orson Welles, if I remember correctly. If you're familiar with War of the Worlds, let me know in the comments if I got that right. But basically, yeah, it's an old story. It's an old story. That's right. It was a radio drama. I was correct. It was a radio drama back in 1938, and then it was a movie in 1953. And I want to, if I remember correctly, Orson Welles is the one that narrated the the radio drama, and it was a very famous radio drama because a lot of people thought it was a real like radio news broadcast, and so there was a lot of people that thought aliens were invading invading the Earth because of how serious it sounded. So it's pretty crazy. So recently there was a movie that came out this year, which was essentially a reboot of, or I can't really call it a reboot. It was it was a I guess, yeah, adaptation. It was an adaptation of the original novel, but this time instead of somebody doing a radio broadcast of an alien invasion, it's a uh, Homeland Security officer watching the alien invasion from his computer, and which doesn't really seem all that engaging. And most people apparently agreed because I think it has the lowest Rotten Tomato score in the history. It's got a 3%, which is crazy. I can't think of another movie that has a lower um, Rotten Tomato score. So yeah, it didn't do well. But I have seen a lot of memes from that movie because it's Ice Cube being a DHS cubicle worker, so it's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, it's funny because I think you can do a modern reinterpretation of something like War of the Worlds. I think instead of it being a feature film, something like this probably would have worked better as a ARG. For those who aren't familiar with ARGs, it basically means augmented reality game, or I think sometimes it stands for alternate reality game. But basically, the concept is that it's a form of storytelling that blurs the line between the real world and the sort of fictional world that the game creates. And usually it's like through a series of YouTube videos and websites and stuff like that. For example, I think an early example of this would be like the Blair Witch Chronicles. If people remember the Blair Witch Chronicles, the campaign for that, it was basically treated like a sort of an ARG where people thought it was a real event that happened where a bunch of people were killed in the woods under mysterious circumstances, and there was news articles and stuff like that surrounding the movie. It was crazy. A more modern example would probably be the what's a good modern example? I guess the first thing that comes to mind because I'm a Nintendo nerd is the uh, Super Mario 64 ARG, basically known as the internal plexus. Basically, that was my microphone. Basically, it was this big ARG based off of a creepy pasta that basically said that there's a corrupt AI program hidden in Super Mario 64 that generates random levels and is also trying to kill you. Basically, it came forth from the term, if you've ever heard, every copy of Mario 64 is personalized. That's where that comes from. But yeah, that's it's. So I think something like that would have been really cool, or something like there was a lot of ARGs for Five Nights at Freddy's, where people would create these YouTube series that was sort of produced in a way that it looks like found footage and stuff like that. Um, that was really popular with Five Nights at Freddy's, or The Man in the Suit. If anybody remembers the Godzilla ARG, the one they did for Godzilla. So I think that would have been a really cool reinterpretation of War of the Worlds. I think it would have worked in that format. Afrocentric Jukebox says, I've never heard of War of the Worlds. Why reboot something that flopped? Is the book actually a good book? Well, the book didn't flop. The movie adaptation, their most recent movie adaptation, is what flopped. The book is really famous. Like I said, it was a very famous science fiction book written by H.G. Wells. I'm not too familiar with his other work. Oh no, yeah, I am. The Invisible Man. I read The Invisible Man. Yeah, outside of The Invisible Man, that's probably the only book I've read. I haven't read War of the Worlds. I've only read The Invisible Man. So yeah, he's a really prolific horror sci-fi thriller author, and so the book is really famous. I recognize War of the Worlds from the radio broadcast done by Orson Welles. I'm not old. I just, that's what I'm familiar with. So it's a very iconic story, to say the least. I think that, like I said, I just think that something like this probably would have been more compelling and engaging as like a ARG or like a YouTube creepypasta or something like that, for a lack of a better term. But what do you guys think? Would you like to see a modern reinterpretation, a good modern reinterpretation of War of the Worlds? Or do you think the story should be left alone? Let me know in the comments below. Fun facts, Orson Welles' last acting / voice acting role was Unicron in the original 80s Transformers movie. So yeah, Orson Welles was Unicron, which is it's pretty wild. I'm getting tongue twisted. It's pretty crazy to think about that he lived long enough. He's old enough to have done radio broadcasts in 1936, and he lived old enough to become a Transformer. What a legacy! What a legacy! But yeah, that's a fun fact. Speaking of legacies, King of the Hill. I have not watched the King of the Hill reboot yet, but I have heard good things about it. People are calling it just as good. People are calling it King of the Hill Shippuden. All my weebs will get that. And people are calling it a lot of fun. So I'm pretty happy to hear that. I'm a big King of the Hill fan. Whenever I got a chance to watch Adult Swim as a child, I wasn't a big fan. I only ever really enjoyed it when it was showing anime or if King of the Hill was on. Sometimes Family Guy, but I mainly watched King of the Hill. A big reason is because Hank Hill is just my dad. He's just my dad. He is literally my dad. But it's a pretty relatable show, in my opinion. And from the clips that I have seen, it looks pretty good. This is probably my favorite clip that I've seen so far. But let's take a look. Also, it's nice to see all of the kids growing up. That's Bobby and Dale's son, if you remember. You turn the volume up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I feel ya. I mean, I'm the only white dude on my road crew. As a white dude, one of my biggest problems is I have no
He said Wait, let's rewind that.
Dude on my road crew. As a white dude, one of my biggest problems is I have no freaking clue what to wear on Halloween. Apparently, I can't be Speedy Gonzalez anymore.
Well, that is pretty racist.
So, if you don't get the joke, as I said earlier, this kid is Dale's son, Dale Gribble. He doesn't realize that. So, if you've seen the show, you know that John Redcorn is his father. But if you've also watched the show in full, you know that Dale Gribble is this kid's dad. That's his dad. So all he knows is Dale. Um, you know, if you've watched King of the Hill, you know what's going on, and it's so funny. Like this, just this alone.
As a white dude, one of my
He said so much about Bobby. A, he's a good friend, and B, he already knows. He already knows what's going on. But the cook, he's like, what? It's like, is he confused? Yes, but you know what? Just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. That was peak comedy right here, with no words. No words were spoken, and it was peak comedy. So I'm really I was pretty hesitant at first to watch the show, but this alone sold me on it because that cracked me up. Let me know what you guys think about the King of the Hill continuation series. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What do you like about it? Who's your favorite new character? Do you like Grown Up Bobby? Is the boy still not right? Let me know in the comments below. Speaking of continuations of old TV shows, the X-Men. A lot of my friends are really big fans of X-Men 97. I saw the original X-Men series. I didn't watch all of it. I was more of a DC kid, admittedly. But from what I've seen from the original show, it was really good. And I've heard mixed things about X-Men 97, but from my personal friends, they really liked it. They're big Marvel fans. I know my best friend from high school, he's a big Marvel fan. He's a big X-Men fan. He enjoyed it, so I'm happy for him. I'm glad that it satisfied the fans. That's the important part. There was one person who apparently did not like it, and that was Kevin Feige. So apparently, Kevin Feige resented the show because fans were using it as a referendum on how the MCU is failing. So there's been a lot of controversy that I've heard surrounding X-Men 97. I don't know why Bo DeMayo was fired. I've heard a few things from. I heard a few things, but I haven't really looked into it all that much. I'm not really invested in drama like that. Also, yes, based Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is base. He's the best X-Man, hands down. Him and Cyclops. Paragon for life. But in all seriousness, one of the things that is interesting is that, because, Kevin Feige, he's the current, I guess, showrunner for the not the X-Men, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe at Disney. And he's essentially the president of Marvel Studios. And so far, the recent Marvel movies haven't been performing all that well. We went to go see Fantastic Four, I think last month, and it was good. I liked it, but apparently it did not do very well at the box office. So that's too bad. because that was a actually good movie. However, I can't say the same thing about um, the Thunderbolts. Can't say the same thing about the Marvels. Can't say the same thing about Ironheart. So, they don't have a great track record as of today. So, a lot of people have been comparing X-Men 97 to, all the other Marvel properties, basically going, "Oh, why can't you be like X-Men 97?" You know? And it's and cuz apparently, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, people recognize quality entertainment. And when something like the X-Men 97 comes along, which shows it's possible to do a good reboot or continuation of a franchise, everything after that or related to that is going to be held to the same standard. That's just the way it is. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with fans holding the content creators accountable. You know what I mean? Yes. So he hates X-Men 97 because it shows that I'm bad. That's the entire point. And it's too bad, so sad. The same thing happens in the Sonic community. I'm gonna sound really cringe right now, but you know, I'm a big Sonic fan, and there was a long time when Sega/Sonic team wasn't consistently delivering quality Sonic content. It is what it is. It took us a while for us to get to games like Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations, and even after that, we still got games like Sonic Forces and Sonic Lost Worlds. And I could kind of forgive Sonic Lost Worlds because it was trying something different, but I digress. We also got Sonic Boom, which was also trying something different, but it's a whole nother story. Basically, I would say ever since the release of Sonic 4 Episode 1, a lot of people were disappointed with that game because it was marketed as a return to form for 2D Sonic, and it just wasn't. It was a pretty mediocre game. And so you started seeing the rise of a lot of 2D Sonic fan games, basically trying to fill the void and succeeding. Uh, you know, why play Sonic 4 when you could play Sonic Mega Mix, when you could play Sonic before the sequel, when you could play Sonic after the sequel, when you could play freaking Sonic 16-bit Triple Trouble. A fan remade Sonic Triple Trouble. Why play, Sonic Boom when you could play Sonic GT? Shout out to the maker of Sonic GT. He's coming out with his own fan game. But I digress. The point is that a lot of Sonic fans tend to use very good fan games as a referendum for Sonic Team's performance, which some people may say that's not fair because it's like, it's I understand it's different circumstances. Making a game is hard. It's difficult. It's you have to deal with time constraints and deadlines and things like that. I understand all that. At the same time, though, these people still have, you know, they're not. Many of these people aren't full-time developers. The indie developers, I mean, and they have less resources, and they're making quality games. So I understand why it may not seem fair to Sonic Team, but I think the only solution is to make better games. And it's kind of the same here. If you don't want people comparing your bad movies to X-Men 97, make better movies, make better content. You know, that's the solution. The solution is not to to blame the fans and to shift the blame onto showrunners you don't get along with. The solution is to make better content, and that's really about it. What do you guys think about the situation? Do you like X-Men '97? Do you think it's the best thing Marvel's done? Do you think it's the worst thing? Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I'm not a big Marvel guy. And I've said it many times before, but I kind of fell out of interest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe after, I want to say, Thor 2, which is a long time ago in Marvel years. But the reality is that I kind of saw the writing on the wall years ago, and I didn't feel like having to watch a whole bunch of different movies to to follow the plot. And I prefer. I guess what I'm getting at is that I prefer when movies stand alone, can stand on their own 2 feet. I'm not saying having a cinematic universe is bad, but it feels like over time the movies focus more on having an interconnected universe as opposed to simply telling a focused, good standalone story. And I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think about the current Marvel movies in the comments below. Speaking of superhero movies, The Incredibles. So I'm sure my dad's mentioned it. I may have mentioned it, but The Incredibles is probably it's definitely my favorite superhero movie. It's definitely one of my dad's favorite superhero movies. It's my favorite Fantastic Four movie for sure. And what's really interesting is that there's been a lot of discourse happening online in relation to the Kronos project. So if you don't remember, or if you haven't seen The Incredibles yet, first off, spoiler alert. Secondly, shout out to 0427 on the Pixar Reddit for creating this awesome poster design for The Incredibles 2. This looks really cool. But basically, the Operation Kronos was a plan from the movie where the bad guy Syndrome was building this super robot. It was called the Omnidroid, and he lured all these different superheroes that were in retirement to this private island to have it fight the Omnidroid robot. And the goal was for the robot to basically kill all these superheroes until there were none left. And sometimes the heroes would defeat the Omnidroid, and then Syndrome would come out with a new version, and then the hero would die after that. And this was all under the guise of the superheroes working on a secret government project. But in reality, they were helping Syndrome build a bigger, better robot so he could take over the world. Because the goal was for the Omnidroid to kill all the supers on the planet, and then Syndrome would unleash the Omnidroid onto the world. He would pretend to defeat it, and then he would become the only superhero in the world. He'd become rich and powerful and eventually sell all of his inventions to the general public so that everybody could become super. Because when everybody's super, nobody is. His words, not mine. So that was the whole plan. So it's fun facts. The name Kronos, obviously the first reference is the Greek Titan Kronos, who ate all of his own kids. But the plan is also a reference to an old black and white movie from 1957 called Kronos. And Kronos was about a robot that was virtually indestructible, and its only weakness was itself. kind of like the robots in The Incredibles. So, really nice callback. I mean, there's a lot of 1950s callbacks in The Incredibles, so this one does not surprise me. And it's pretty cool. I should probably check out this movie. So, one of the interesting things is that a lot of discourse has been shaping around the lives and identities of the various superheroes that were killed by the what's it called, the Omnidroid. And what's cool is that I had the Incredibles on DVD, and then like the special feature in the DVD had basically like voice clips and secret files for all the heroes. So you got to listen to different voice clips of all the different superheroes. And, people are kind of learning more about these superheroes and making a lot of interesting parallels to modern superhero content. So this is probably the most popular. Subject is actually Gamma Jack. I don't know if he's featured in this poster, but he's been really popular online. Here we go. So here's a quick YouTube short basically breaking down who Gamma Jack is.
Hell is Gamma Jack. So Gamma Jack is a superhero from the Incredibles universe who is part of the NSA, which is the National Supers Association. He was basically the Incredibles version of Homelander, but we'll get to that in a second, because first we got to talk about how absolutely overpowered this guy was. So Gamma Jack's powers are in his name.
So it's pretty interesting how people are immediately making parallels with Gamma Jack to Homelander because of his personality and stuff like that.
He emits and controls gamma radiation and gamma energy at his will. If you guys want the official breakdown of his powers, you can pause the video and read here. But yeah, he is insanely powerful. Imagine Godzilla at the end of King of Monsters, but as a human. He literally can just walk around and just emit gamma blasts from his body whenever he wants, absolutely decimating everything within a radius of his choosing. That is great. But you remember what I said earlier about him being the Homelander of the Incredibles universe? Yeah, this guy was not a good dude.
So when you listen to the voice clips of Gamma Jack, and if you read his profile on the on Syndrome's computer, obviously it shows a quick flash, but you can access it in the DVD version of The Incredibles. But basically it reveals that he has a bit of an ego, and he might have been essentially he might have been Magneto, which I think he's going to get into.
And if you need any proof, here are the only voice lines he has.
It's always going to be a lot of collateral damage. There's lots of villains, and there's lots of villainous deeds going on at any given time. Part of my job is to prioritize which villains I'm going to combat. So I take a look around. I see if there's any good-looking women who need to be rescued immediately.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
And then I sort of start from there and work my way down the list. If you've got Tubby Joe Schmo over there with a laser pointed at his head, and he might have to wait in line.
Yeah, not a good dude. And that
Man, rip Tubby Joe Schmo. I guess I'm not going to save that.
That's not even the full message either. I cut it short for a TikTok video. You could go on YouTube and find the whole 2-minute recording. It is crazy. Plus, he just believes that supers are superior to humans in every way. And in case you guys are wondering, no, he is not still alive. Like many other superheroes, he lost and died in a fight against Syndrome's Omnidroid. But yeah, that's basically everything we know about Gamma Jack. Let me know if y'all want a video breaking down all of the heroes in the NSA, because there's some crazy ones.
So one thing he doesn't mention, and shout out to I'm Dylan Stark. Shout out to I'm Dylan Stark for making this short. But one thing he doesn't mention is that, everybody in the top secret files Sans, Incredible, Frozone, and Elastigirl are dead, right? Because they were killed by the Omnidroid. So one thing that's cool about the Incredibles is that they went into very high detail about all the heroes' stats. So yeah, Gamma Jack has the highest power type. Like his power type is the most powerful because it's gamma radiation. But if you look at his strength, it's it's pretty abysmal. If you look at his endurance, it's pretty abysmal. If you look at his indestructibility, it is awful, right? Now let's see if we could find Mr. Incredibles. Because remember, Mr. Incredible is the only hero that was able to defeat a what's it called? Omnidroid in a one-on-one battle. And that just goes to show how powerful Mr. Incredible is. Because I feel like the movie doesn't do justice to just how strong Mr. Incredible is. Now, obviously, it's a movie about a midlife crisis, so we don't get to see a whole lot of Mr. Incredible at his peak. But even, fat, out of shape Bob was still broken, right? Stats. Mr. Incredible's stats. Here we go. Is this a good photo? And no, that's terrible. But yeah, basically, if you look at probably one of the best scenes that demonstrates this is when you look at the scene where he gets trapped in a volcano and he's fighting the Omnidroid, and the Omnidroid tries to rip him in half. All it does is fixes his back, and at that point, he's cooked. The only thing nerfing him was a bad back, and he went to work. He went to town on him. Yeah, here we go. Bam! Power type. It's below half because it's just super strength. But look at his strength. It's full. Look at his endurance. It's full. Look at his intelligence. It's above average. Look at his agility. It's above average. Look at his indestructibility. He's indestructible. Like I said, so keep in mind the robots in the Incredibles movies, part of their programming was to learn and adapt. So every new hero that they fought, they learned different methods of killing them. So the Omnidroid that fought Mr. Incredible, probably defeated the last hero it fought by ripping it in half. So when it tried to rip Bob in half, all it did was fix his back, and then he went to town on him. Like, that's crazy to think about. It's nuts. It, like I really I really would have liked to see him peak Mr. Incredible. We got to see a little bit of it in the intro of the movie, but man, if if retired Mr. Incredible is that strong, man, I can't even imagine fighting Mr. Incredible at his peak. That would have been insane. And think about his strength and endurance and indestructibility, and then think about his kids. Think about Jack Jack. Jack Jack is his son. You know what I'm saying? So think about how powerful Jack Jack's going to be. So it's really cool. So I think it's really interesting. I think it's really fun that a lot of people have sort of reignited interest in the Incredibles movies because they're really good movies, especially the first one. The Incredibles is a really great movie. In my opinion, it's the best superhero movie ever. It's the best Fantastic Four movie ever. And it's a really great celebration of everything that we love about superheroes. And it's really cool to see people really discuss and break down the lore of the movies because there's a lot to go over. One of my favorite things was another feature in the special features DVD for The Incredibles was it came with a sort of fake cartoon for Mr. Incredibles. It was the Adventures of Mr. Incredible and Frozone, and it was essentially a parody and a homage to uh, what was that old cartoon? My dad would have remembered the name of it. It was like a old cartoon where there was little to no animation, and all the characters' lips were like real lips. Because that's how they used to animate things back in the day for television. Mr. Incredibles cartoon. Man, I can't spell. It was called Sergeant something, but regardless, it was a really funny cartoon because you got to hear commentary from Frozone and Bob, and you got to hear Frozone complain about how they whitewashed him in the cartoon. It's hilarious, and it's great. If you get a chance to check it out, it's on YouTube somewhere, and you could watch it, and it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's hilarious. And it's a here we go, Mr. Incredible and Pals. So yeah, you got to watch this. It was basically a little short that was a parody of old 1950s, 60s cartoons, and it was specifically it was a homage to a specific cartoon. It was called Sergeant Something. And see, if my dad was here, he would have remembered what the cartoon was called because it's a very specific reference. Like when you look at the animation, you can't help but think, "Oh, this is a reference to that." Like there's no getting around it, and it's pretty funny. And it's here we go, Clutch Cargo, yeah, Clutch Cargo. So yeah, the Incredibles cartoon was essentially an homage to Clutch Cargo. So if you get a chance to watch Clutch Cargo, and then go watch the Incredibles cartoon. You'll see what I mean. There was like I say, it was limited animation, and like it was essentially like a colored storyboard, and then sometimes the characters' lips would turn into real people lips. It was kind of creepy, but you know, animation's expensive, and it's 1959. Hanna Brothers didn't invent Scooby Doo yet, so you know we got to work with what we have. But yeah, love the Incredibles. Shout out to Golden Era Pixar, and yeah, what do you guys think about the Incredibles? Who's your favorite super featured in the movies? What superhero would you like to learn more about? And what superhero do you think would beat Mr. Incredible? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for today. I'm going to cut it short today just because it's me. But I appreciate you guys for sticking around. And for those who aren't in the live stream, thanks for watching us on YouTube. Follow us, like, subscribe. And when you get a chance, check out our website. We're going to be launching our campaign soon. In the meantime, you can sign up to our email list and get a free 12-page digital comic. We love your feedback and we appreciate your support. And sign up to our email so you can follow us and keep up to date on the Super Galactic Fantastic News. But other than that, you guys have a Super Galactic Saturday, and I'll see you around.